Hey coach, I hope you are well. I'm going to show you how we stopped Jordana from being the bottleneck inside her business. Now, I've worked with Jordana over the space of about 2 years and we built multiple different projects. But recently, she came back to me because she's after hiring new coaches into her business. The business is after scaling quite a bit and taking on a lot more clients. And there's a few gaps inside there. And if you're an online fitness coach, chances are you're probably experiencing some of these gaps as well. So let me pop this into full screen mode here and I'll show you exactly what was going on. So this was Jordana's head. She was like, to be fair, she was really, really good at knowing what was going on with what clients. But as she started to bring on other coaches in the business, those other coaches didn't have this kind of unique context about every single client. And that became a bit of an issue because we want to make sure that no matter what coach is talking to what clients, they all have as much context as is needed. Like, where exactly is the client? What's going on? What type of coaching do they respond to? What are their goals right now? What's their knowledge level at compared to the stuff that has been taught to them? And we want to essentially create a standard across the board to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. Because at the moment, insider coaching, this was the kind of reality of, and it's going to be the same for you when you first hire coaches. You will have, let's say, yourself, you might have, let's say, 17 clients, you have all the context. Coach B, they have 8 clients, they have no context about them. Then coach C, and then every new coach that you hire, they have less context about what's actually going on with the clients and like where all the clients' information is. And we want to fix that gap. And this is what we did. So we looked at the client journey, and she has a very detailed client journey where at certain stages of the coaching process, they want certain bits of education to happen. They have certain kind of milestones and checkpoints. And then from there, we need to be able to see where is the client along the journey. We set up the automations to do that so it automatically tracks. But the gap was at this like 30-day call point. Before jumping onto that call, we need a lot more context about like, right, what way is this client best responding to coaching? What way are they responding to the actual knowledge that we've given them? Like, is there any area that they're like struggling with? And then from there, we got to figure out how we can make sure that every single coach has this context for all the clients across the board. So the first thing we did was we jumped on the call. She created two kind of quiz structures where she wanted this quiz to gather this information so that she could use it. And previously she had it in like type form and other places. But the problem was it wasn't actually like syncing back to her overall client base. And then they would give the client to be like, hey, go complete this form. The client would do it. And then they wouldn't get a notification to say that the client did it. And then sometimes they would forget about it. And that's not what we want. So we decided to create them. The first thing that we did was we created this choose your adventure quiz, which is her way of figuring out like, right, well, what's going on with the clients? What are they kind of focused on right now? How all in are they? Are they like slow and steady? What's going on? So what way are we going to be coaching this client? So it's a simple 10-question quiz. Based off their answers, it will basically give a result. Then are you part A, part B, part C? And then from there, we also created the macro quiz. The macro quiz is based around the education then, because they're teaching the clients to basically learn about calories and macros and everything. But they need to see like, right, well, we've given you the knowledge, but how much of that have you actually taken on board? Where do you know? So the client goes through a quick macro quiz where they'll select answers, and then whether it's right or wrong, different prompts will happen. If it's correct, it will say, yeah, great job, and reaffirm. If it's incorrect, it will use it as a teaching point, and then you will gather all their results. Now, the important part is all of the results. So the clients going through these forms is no good without it actually doing stuff with the information. So what we got to happen is after the client completes any of these forms, it is then, this is the kind of technical part, it is then sent into their client management software. From there, then it finds the right client. It will then attach the results to the profile. It will then find which coach is responsible for that client. And then you'll notify the coach to say that, hey, for example, here, hey, Aaron just completed their Choose Your Adventure quiz. They're Pat A. Here's their scores. And then the coach is Jordana. So it would have been sent directly to Jordana and it's attached to their profile. So if we open up the client's profile, we can see what's actually going on inside there. We can see all the results, all the forms that they've completed. It just makes it super easy for the coach. So then we're not trying to like coach the clients without the context. We now can see like, hey, this client best responds to this part of the coaching. This is the educational components that they're kind of missing at the moment. And in the future, what we have planned now is when they are after completing these kind of quizzes or scorecards and stuff like that, and we see the results, we will then have specific follow-up SOPs set for those results. So in a working example, it would be Aaron here completes the macro quiz and he scored terrible on carbohydrates. So when the coach gets notified that he completed the quiz, you'll say, "Hey, Aaron completed the quiz. He scored terrible on carbohydrates. He needs a bit more knowledge about this." And then you'll almost create like the plan of action for that coach to then go and interact with the clients and teach them about that in their next coaching session. So it's making sure that nobody's falling through the gaps on any part of the client journey. And when the coach is contacting the clients, they have the full context needed. If you have any questions about this, or you want to see what something like this could look like in your business, drop me a message on Instagram with like the word audit or something like that, and we'll basically run through a full audit of your business, every single area: onboarding, lead gen, sales, the client management, check-ins, offboarding, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll give you basically a full report to be like, hey, this is what's great, this is what's not so great, and what we could actually do to fix it, and then visually show you. If you have any other questions,